Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we try to make sense of the confusing world of business finance. Today we're diving into Wewards Inc. and their latest annual report, and let me tell you, this one has some interesting insights. Get ready for a roller coaster because Wewards is not your typical company. If you like getting straight to the point on what really matters in these filings, smash that subscribe button. And hey, we've got a great community over on our Discord server. Link is in the description below, so come join the conversation. So what's the big story here? Wewards is a very small company and their business plan seems to be centered around a web-based platform that lets people buy things and earn Bitcoin rewards. They also have a game called Monopoly, but the real meat of this report is in the financials, and boy do they tell a story. Let's get into the business itself. Wewards was incorporated way back in 2013, initially planning to make candles. Fast forward to now, and they've shifted gears to this Bitcoin rewards platform and a game called Monopoly. They haven't actually made any money from these ventures yet. They bought the rights to Monopoly in 2020 from a company owned by their main guy, Lei Pei. This game, Monopoly, is like Monopoly, but you can earn fractions of Bitcoin. It's designed to be played online on computers or phones, and is available in both English and Chinese. They even spent a significant amount of money, over $1.6 million, on developing this game with a related company. But the big takeaway here is that despite all this development, Wewards has zero revenue so far. That's right, no sales at all. Now let's talk about their stock. It trades on what's called the Pink Limited Market, which is generally for very small companies. The price seems pretty stable, hovering around 2x22 to 2x11. But before we get too excited, remember that this is an over-the-counter market, which means it's not as regulated or transparent as the major stock exchanges. Here's where things get really interesting, the management's discussion and analysis. This is essentially management's own commentary on how the company is doing. And Wewards is very upfront about their situation. They clearly state here no revenue for the years ending May 31, 2025 or 2024. Zero, and they're not currently engaged in any revenue producing activities. This is a critical point. They have a business concept, a game, but no customers paying for anything. Let's look at the actual numbers. In 2025, they had operating expenses of about $90,000, but zero revenue, leading to an operating loss of over $90,000. Contrast that with 2024, where their operating expenses were about $45,000, also with zero revenue, and an operating loss of $145,000. So they are spending money, but not making any. This is a common theme for early stage companies, but with no revenue in sight, it's a big red flag. Interestingly, their rent expense dropped dramatically from about $75,000 in 2024 to just $300 in 2025. Why? Because they terminated their office lease in October of 2023. This shows they are cutting costs where possible, which is sensible when you have no income. The overall net loss for 2025 was nearly $600,000, a slight improvement from a net loss of about $650,000 in 2024. This improvement is mainly due to that reduced rent. So while the loss got smaller, it's still a loss and it's a substantial one for a company of this size. Now let's talk about cash. As of May 31, 2025, Wewards had about 1,630 BTC amount right. But look at their liabilities. They have current liabilities of over $4 million, mostly in accrued interest and long-term liabilities like convertible notes payable of another $10.5 million. This means they have a serious negative working capital situation, meaning they owe way more than they have in short-term assets. Their cash flow statement shows they used about $70,000 for operations in 2025 and $125,000 in 2024. This means they are burning through cash just to keep the lights on, not to grow the business or generate sales. This section is brutal. They admit they don't have enough funds to cover operations for the next 12 months. Their ability to keep going depends on raising more money, and they're relying on their CEO and majority shareholder, Mr. Pei, and his affiliated companies for financing. They openly state there's no guarantee Mr. Pei will continue to provide this funding. This is a classic sign of a company struggling for survival. Let's look at the balance sheet. The numbers here paint a stark picture. For May 31, 2025, they have total assets of just $693,000, mostly cash, but their total liabilities are over $14 million. This results in a stockholders deficit of nearly $14 million. A deficit means that if you were to add up all the money the company owes and subtract all the money it owns, you'd be in the red by a lot. This negative equity of almost $14 million is a big deal. It essentially means the company owes far more than it's worth on paper. Here's the statement of operations again, confirming that zero revenue for both 2025 and 2024. General and administrative expenses went up in 2025, mainly because of a civil tax penalty of over $15,000, which is never a good sign. And the cash flow showing they're using cash for operations, not generating it. This note details their business. It reiterates that they have a platform and a game, but crucially, they have not generated any revenue from licensing these, except for some agreements with related parties. This is a huge part of their liabilities. They owe $10.5 million in convertible notes to Sky Rover, an entity owned by Mr. Pai. Convertible notes are essentially loans that can be turned into company stock. This is arguably the most important note in the entire report. The auditors explicitly state there's substantial doubt about the company's ability to continue as a going concern. They point to recurring losses, a capital deficiency, negative working capital, and not enough cash for operations. This is the auditor's way of saying this company might not make it. They're relying on Mr. Pai to keep funding them, and there's no guarantee. This note confirms that the $10.5 million in convertible notes are owed to Sky Rover, which is controlled by Mr. Pai, has taken on this debt. This means a significant portion of their debt is owed to the top executive. Here they explain how they value their financial items. Their convertible notes are valued using level 3 inputs, which means they rely on unobservable data and their own assumptions. This can be subjective. This details the nitty-gritty of those notes. They owe $8 million on one note to Sky Rover, with over $3 million in accrued interest. Another note is for $2.5 million with over $1 million in accrued interest. If these notes are converted to stock, Mr. Pai could end up owning almost 97.4% of the company. They recognized over $500,000 in interest expense on these related party loans in both 2024 and 2024, and 2024 and 2024 and 2024. And they have significant net operating losses, almost $9 million federally. However, they have a full valuation allowance against their deferred tax assets, meaning they don't expect to be able to use these losses to reduce future taxes. This is common for companies with no profits. This section is about internal controls, how they manage their finances, and Wewards admits their controls are not effective. They identify several material weaknesses. No dedicated audit committee or financial expert on the board, poor cash controls, a lack of segregation of duties because it's a one-man show with the CEO also being the CFO, and no formal process for identifying and approving related party transactions. They acknowledge this could lead to errors that might not be caught. This is the part about the only director and executive officer, Lei Pei. He wears every hat: CEO, CFO, treasurer, secretary. He's been at the helm since 2015. His background is in law and business, but he has no employees other than himself performing these critical roles. And here's the ownership breakdown. Lei Pei owns over 101 million shares, which is about 94.3% of the company. He also has shares held in trust for his children. It's clear he has complete control. This reinforces that Mr. Pai is the only director and is not independent. It also reiterates the details of those convertible notes he holds, showing the massive principal and accrued interest amounts. Essentially, he's both the leader and the main creditor of the company. Their auditor, M&K CPAS PLLC, billed them about $33,750 in 2025 for audit fees. No other significant fees for tax or other services. This just lists the official documents that back up everything in the report. Take to now from my take on Wewards Inc. This company is in a survival mode. They have a vision, a game, a platform, but zero traction in terms of revenue. Their biggest asset is cash, but their liabilities far outweigh it, leading to that massive stockholder deficit. The fact that their auditor has issued a serious going concern warning means the company's future is very uncertain without additional funding, which they admit is not guaranteed and depends entirely on their CEO. The lack of internal controls and the concentration of power and debt with the CEO are significant risks. It looks like Wewards is still in the very early and arguably struggling stages of trying to get a business off the ground. They need to find a way to generate revenue quickly or secure stable long-term funding, which, given their current financial health, will be incredibly difficult. What do you think about Wewards' chances? Can they turn this around with their Monopoly game or Bitcoin platform, or are they just burning through cash? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown useful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more in-depth financial analysis. And remember, join our growing community on Discord, link in the description for more insights and discussions. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.